My name is George. I am an alcoholic. And I'm grateful to be sober just for today. And I learned those little cliches here in the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous. And I thought they were so corny, and I don't want to hear that nonsense. And then you guys hold hands after the meeting and say one day at a time, keep coming back. I said, oh man, these guys, they didn't drink like me. These guys don't drink like me. And yeah, I thought it was special, different, unique. Nobody would understand my problems. I was full of self-pity. Um, you guys would not understand my loneliness. You guys would not understand my life. And always playing into that, feeling sorry for myself. I'm just this poor little Mexican kid from East LA, and at a young age, I learned that my dad was a heroin addict, and we lived there around the gangs, and my uncles were winos and drug addicts. So I took to it. I just said, okay, these are tough guys, and this is what they do, and maybe I could act like that too. Doesn't seem so bad, and you know. Uh, yeah, as a young boy, I was always trying to really, I wanted attention. I wanted attention. It's just my brother and myself, but we used to live behind my grandmother's house in the back house, and my grandmother had 10 kids. So I had uncles and aunts and cousins. So it was a big family environment. There was a lot of us, a lot of Mexicans on that house. And they loved all the adults drank beer. They all drank beer. My grandpa, I would see him on the porch. He'd come back from work. He was a painter, a house painter by trade, and he would come and sit on the porch, and he would have a can of Olympia beer or Bergie that dates him. He's old. He's passed away, and may he rest in peace. But he would have his couple of beers and his chicharrones, and sit on the front porch, and we'd sneak drinks from him, and then he would shoo us off. Get out of here, you're bothering me. He'd get real cranky, and would shoo us away. And I remember doing that and thinking that was normal. My grandpa's drinking beer on the porch, and then years later, I find out, that my grandpa was an alcoholic. And what he would do on Friday nights, this is from my mom told me the story. On Friday nights, Grandpa would go to the bar down the block and mess around with prostitutes and drink up all the money and spend the money on prostitutes. So my grandmother would go down there and drag him by his ass all the way back home before he drank up all the money. So I really do feel it is genetic. My grandpa was an alcoholic. My father's father, on my father's side, he drank himself to death. He died from cirrhosis of the liver. And as I look back, he could not stand the death of my grandma. My grandma died from breast cancer in the late 1940s, early 1950s. I don't know the exact date. But she died from breast cancer, and 6 years later, he couldn't handle it, and he drank himself to death. So I got both grandpas, on my mom's side and my dad's side, that are chronic alcoholics, hope to die drunks, And I didn't think anything of it until I started to put the pieces together. And you guys talk about it, saying, yeah, it may be genetics, And we learn a lot of stuff from the men that were around, behaviors and all of that. And so I took to it as a young boy. Like I said, my dad was a crazy homeboy from East LA, and I wanted to be like him and do that kind of thing and act a fool. And at a very young age, I didn't take to drinking, but I was smoking weed alcoholically. I was smoking weed like a Rastafarian at the age of 13. I would smoke weed before I went to school, during nutrition, at lunch, and after school, and act a fool all the way home. And then when mom and dad would say, how was school today? Oh yeah, it was fine. And how are you doing? Okay. Lying through my teeth. Lying. And thank God you guys have the principles written right here. I was lying and cheating and stealing at a young age, as a young teenager. Did not know a thing about honesty, and the first principle, honesty. You guys taught me. I got to be honest with myself and honest with another alcoholic, at least one, at least a sponsor, or at least an old timer. And thank God my friend's here, so I can't BS and lie too much, because he's been seeing me come to the rooms since I started coming in. I started coming in November of 2010. And that was at the strong suggestion of a doctor, an emergency room doctor, over at San Gabriel Valley Medical Center. And I like to say his name because the man saved my life. His name is Dr. Rashid Wasef. And he's an internal organ specialist and a liver specialist. And, after all those years of acting a fool, acting a homeboy, the East LA, all that nonsense, Whittier Boulevard, homeboys, drugs, and alcohol, and all that nonsense, it catches up to me, like I said, November of 2010. Because that morning, I got to go to the emergency room because I'm shitting out blood. I'm defecating blood. I'm coughing up blood. There's no way to make up an excuse or reasons anymore that my drinking's not a problem. It's here, and it was like party's over, and I had to go to emergency room, and I never forget that, because that's like ground zero for me. Going to the emergency room, knowing damn well that my drinking is now killing me, and just having that doctor say, George, you're drinking yourself to death. You're suffering from internal bleeding. And I suggest that you stop drinking, or at least try to stop. And I'm going to help you, though. So I was in the medical detox there for 11 days, and they helped me. God bless them. The nurses and the doctors over at San Gabriel Valley Medical Center, not too far from here. And I remember when they were giving me blood transfusions. Like I lost a lot of blood. And they were giving me blood transfusions, and the little Filipina nurses would come in the middle of the night like little angels, and they would whisper to me. They would say, why are you killing yourself, young man? You know that God loves you. That's a bad Filipina nurse impersonation, but you guys understand. That's my Filipina nurse. But like I said, these ladies, these nurses in the hospital are like little angels, taking care of me, whispering things to me like that. Why are you killing yourself? Why are you drinking yourself to death? God loves you. Take care of yourself. God bless you. Then they take off, And there I am going through the withdrawals and just totally like a little scared little boy laying there thinking, man, what am I going to do? The doctor said I can't drink anymore. The ladies are shaking their head and they're praying for me. They were even saying prayers. And I remember somebody from the mission. It was a lady. She was actually a deacon, I believe. And she came and she says, are you a Catholic? And I'm like, wow, man, is this lady giving me my last rites? Am I really going to die now? Is this it? And she says, no, let me pray with you because you're very sick. You're a very sick young man. And she prays over me and she says, are you a Catholic? I say, yeah, I'm Catholic. And do you believe in God? Oh, yeah. And she says, all right. And she gives me communion. She does communion with me there. And I'm like, wow. And I was really scared. I was breaking down emotionally. I'm laying there in the bed crying, sobbing. Because I know I'm killing. All the reality's hitting me. It's killing me. It's killing me. Look at this. Look where I'm at. I got all these tubes on me, and I got the things in my chest. I'm watching the monitor with my heartbeat. It becomes reality. I can't shake it and say, oh yeah, tomorrow I'll sober up. Tomorrow I'll sober up, which I did for all of those years. Thinking I could figure I'll stop drinking tequila and I'll just drink Budweiser. And then, the Budweiser stops working, so let me try some of that cheap vodka. That works every time. That guarantees me to get drunk. The cheap plastic bottle vodka that drunks like me end up buying for $1.99. Yeah, he's got his plastic bottle. And that's where it takes me. That's where my drinking took me. And all that's going through my head. What am I going to do? What am I going to do? So the day comes where he releases me. He says, George, okay, I'm going to send you home now. Here's your discharge paper. Here's your list of prescriptions. I had a whole list of prescriptions. And he prescribed a bunch of sedatives because I'm like this. You guys, I can't sleep. I can't eat. I'm shaking like a leaf. I'm gagging every 10, 15 minutes. And he says to me, George, you have cirrhosis of the liver. And George, you should really stop drinking. And he says, George, if you keep drinking at this rate, you're going to be dead within 2 years. When he looked at me, he looked me straight in the eyes. He wasn't BSing me. It was scaring the hell out of me. And he says, you might want to try AA. And he signs it. He says, here, the nurses will come right now and escort you out. And like I said, I was like a scared little boy. Didn't know what I was going to do. But I remember him saying that, try AA. Try AA. So I go home and I rest for a couple of days. And my brother, who's like an Eskimo, doesn't even know it. He's like 12-step. He comes to my house to make sure I'm okay. He knew I got out of the hospital. So he comes to my house a couple of days later and says, hey, man, I'm going to stay here and just make sure you're okay. And I'm like, yeah, I guess that's fine. Just sleep on the couch. And he says, yeah, man. And, I'm going to make sure you don't drink. And I'm like, don't worry about it, man. I'm done, man. I'm done. And he says, yeah. And didn't you say you wanted to go some AA meetings? I'll drive you. I'm going to take you. But I didn't have a car. I don't drive. I still don't have a car. And he says to me, I'm going to take you. Call that number up and find out the meeting because I'm going to take you tomorrow. And I said, no, it's going to be raining and it's cold. And I'm okay. I got my Librium. I got my prescription. I got my Ativan. I have stuff. I have Valiums. They were still giving Valiums at that to sleep. And I'm like, I'm okay. And he says, no. He goes, I'm going to take you. So the next morning, I remember it was a Sunday morning, and it was raining cats and dogs. And he says, okay, let's go. Where'd you say it was at? I said, well, it's up there on Colorado Boulevard. It's a place called the 202 Club. Some of you guys might have heard of that place. And he drives me up there. It's raining cats and dogs. And he takes me there. And I walk in, and there's a lot of low bottoms. I mean, these guys look like street people. They're street winos, which, I'm there with them, right? I'm not better than them. I'm just getting out of the emergency 2-3 days ago. So, but I look and I'm like, wow, these guys are really down and out, man. So I go in and I'm in the meeting. I'm still kind of in a fog because, like I told you, I'm taking heavy medications. And I'm there and I'm sitting there. And the secretary is this little lady, and she looks so normal and so sweet. And she says, my name is, I forget what her name is, Jane. My name's Jane. I'm an alcoholic. And she says, and I'm a teacher. I'm a high school teacher. And I'm an alcoholic. And she likes to drink red wine and black out. And I'm listening to her and I'm like, wow. She says she's an alcoholic and blacks out. Okay, I do that too. I'm not a teacher, just a homeboy, but I black out. And I associated with that when she said blackout and not knowing the next day when she came to what was happening. And I associated with that. And I said, all right, this is pretty good. Let me find some more that are closer to me. So I found the one in Alhambra. At that time, it was behind the Alhambra High School. And I started going to that meeting. Then Tuesday, Roses Road. Over at Roses Road. I started going there on Tuesday. And then Wednesday, I found the meeting over at the Women's Club on Fremont. Because I always said, I'm going to get sober. I'm going to change. I'm going to do this. And then Wednesday, and then Thursday, I had a meeting in San Gabriel at a little place called The Hut. And then Friday, there's a meeting in El Sereno. It's a speaker meeting, and I'll go there and listen to those winos talk. And but I don't think, they really don't understand me. But I'm going to try it anyways. Let me try it, And I do that, and I do that for like maybe a month. I'm doing okay, not drinking. And but my priority is I need to get a job. I need to start working again. I need to get back on my feet, you know? I need to get my life together. And I go out and get the job, you know, and that first paycheck, that little voice comes in and says, "Oh, you've been doing pretty good. You got 30 days and you haven't had a beer and you got paid and you got this new job and yeah, one beer is not going to hurt you." You know, and 2 months ago I was in emergency, bleeding to death. But my disease starts lying to me again, and I pick up that beer. And within the next month, nose diving, lose the job, become sick as a dog again, have to go back to ER because I'm coughing up my guts. And they told me to stop drinking. It's going to get worse. And I remember you guys said it too. It progressively gets worse. You're going to pick up where you left off. And I did, because I was mixing it with Vicodins now. I was mixing hard liquor, Vicodins, Budweisers. Repeat. Back down in the skids. You know. And 2 months ago, forgetting about how I almost died. And that's the disease of my alcoholism. It did that to me several more times. I played that little merry-go-round game. Sober up a little bit. Okay, let me go get a job. You know, I was putting the job and the money and responsibility as my priority. It was not my sobriety to stay sober. You know, I could not stay sober. I could get sober. I could sober up for a couple of days, go to the hospital, come out, feel good, get sobered up, you know. But I could not stay sober. And I did that over and over for about 5 years, torturing myself. But thank God you guys said, keep coming back. You know, and I'm a stubborn wino too, so I kept coming back. I'm going to get it, you know. And there were old timers that would make these really crude jokes. And they would say, put the shovel down, boy. You're digging your own grave. And then there were others that would say, some of us have to die so some of us can live. And I'd say, oh, I'm going to get you, old timer. You know? And it was like, and now I look back, it was like reverse psychology. They were pushing me with all those, you know, those tough comments and really just giving it to me, telling me, yeah, boy, go out and drink some more. See if you can figure it out. And come back and crawl in here with your tail between your legs if you don't die. And I knew that I did not want to die. I knew that much. I didn't want to die yet. There was just a little sliver of hope. A little bit of light at the end of the tunnel. You know, and I really thank my mother and my grandmother because they were religious. They prayed, they meditated, they read candles, and I could feel it, you know, to believe in something higher, believe in a higher power, believe in God. God, get me out of this. I'm tired of torturing myself. I've been doing the same old nonsense for 5 years. Please help me. You know, that alcoholic prayer you guys talk about. God help me because I can't help myself. And I was at that point. I know if I keep drinking, it's going to kill me. And I feel like I need a drink so bad I'm going to die. I was at that jumping off point. And you guys told me about that. And I was there. You know, and my last drunk was April 21st of 2022. 2015. Sorry. 2015. And that's the last time I had a drink. And it wasn't a big blowout. I didn't end up in emergency. I didn't end up in the jailhouse, in the drunk tank. I didn't end up blacked out on the sidewalk. I was just sitting at the bus stop on Main Street in Alhambra with a tall can of Budweiser and a little shooter of brandy. And I drank them. And nothing happened. Nothing changed. And I had to ask myself, do I really want to take another chance and go down that road and could possibly kill myself? The answer was no. I don't want to take that chance anymore. I don't want to die. So the next morning, The next day I went to Roses Road and took another newcomer chip and just kept coming back. It was very slow for me. And thank God, by the grace of God and the program of Alcoholics Anonymous, I haven't found it necessary to pick up a drink in the past 7 years. And it was very, very slow for me. Very slow. And I'm grateful for that, though. I'm very grateful for that. That it had to be beaten into me. Like it talks about beaten into a state of reasonableness. Addison's a book thumper, my buddy. Beaten into a state of reasonableness for God to enter and say, okay, George, do you want to live? Okay. So I come here and share that with you guys. And my life is taking a whole different transformation. It's not perfect. Life's a bitch. But I don't drink. I pray. I meditate. I read the big book and share it with you guys. And God bless each and every one of you. I'm going to shut up now.